propagating government communication and informing the Liberian people. The minister is back. We are happy to have him back here. And so the press briefing today will be twofold. Of course, when the Minister of Information stays away from the country for a week or so, he comes back, there are always important things to be said. And so the Minister will speak, and then followed by the Minister will make some comments on some issues unfolding in the country, and then he and I will jointly entertain questions from our distinguished members of the press who have gathered here to provide us coverage for this event. So without much ado, let me now invite to the podium our distinguished Minister of Information, the Honorable Jeremy Nagbe.
So let me greet all of you reporters here at NITAT. Like I've always said, we are one big family. So when we step away, in some way we get to this, and I'm glad to reconnect with all of you in full gear to do what you know how to do best, and that is to cover events here at the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism. So it's good to see all of you again. Because I have just arrived, the distinguished Deputy Minister will be acting in my absence. It's meant to address today's press conference. But I just thought that some of the things that I followed while away as the official spokesperson of the government, I needed to say something about some of them before the Deputy Minister continues the press conference. And the first one I want to start with is the question of what happened at the airport. I know the LAA, which is the Airport Authority, issued a release to say what happened. But then I got more to say about that because I was on the flight. I arrived that night as one of the many passengers who were on board that Brussels flight. I also religiously followed comments and posting from many persons, giving different accounts of what is taught. And who I know, whose postings were far from just the desire to tell a true story about what happened. Lesson Brussels flight of that day came from Brussels to Freetown, and Freetown to Monrovia. A strike action was due in Brussels the following day, so the flight did not plan to continue its journey. Normally, when the flight comes from Freetown or Côte d'Ivoire, wherever it comes from, it will pick up passengers and proceed to Brussels. This flight came, and a decision was made that the flight will remain at the Rabat International Airport until the following day to avoid the strike action that was taking place in Brussels. So we didn't have additional passengers coming on board for Freetown. Once we landed in Freetown, and the passengers that were traveling to Sierra Leone disembarked, no passenger entered the flight from there, except those who were coming to Monrovia that were already on board remained. In fact, approximately around 85% of the passengers on board the flight remained in Freetown. So we came to Monrovia with almost virtually empty flight. And the flight landed safely on normal conditions. In fact, those on the flight did not know that there was an issue on the ground. It was just about the point of disembarking, then the team on the flight announced that the passengers would not receive their luggages because the terminal was before electricity. And so they would not be able to upload the luggages. So we disembarked, and once we got out of the plane, we could see that the terminal building was dark. But the runway was lighted, clearly lighted. That's why the flight was able to land in the first place. And the VIP, I'm not talking about the presidential lounge, but the VIP of the airport, the small one I used to be used before, also had electricity. And we proceeded there. Now I asked some question, why was it possible for the runway to be operational with full lighting, not a terminal? And the explanation was based on what happened in the past, where the entire system was linked as one. And there were, I think, two different instances with the Singers and Brussels, where the flight was not able to land, even though they approached the wrong way to land, and had to ascend and go to Freetown to learn some lesson from that. So they have a system that keeps the runway 24/7 lighted. So even if the whole airport, in terms of the terminal building is dark, flights will be able to safely and easily land because the runway is perfectly lighted. And that was the situation of that night. So we saw posting that people were using flashlights and their phone light to claim their baggage. Nobody could claim baggage, and nobody could use torchlight or anything to claim it. It means the conveyor belt itself is not working. And the terminal of oil electricity that it means no passenger can go in there. So how can somebody suggest that we're using flashlight to go collect or claim them there? But the flight already announced that bags will be received tomorrow because the terminal is without electricity. We don't provide justification for that. And as a spokesman of the government, I would say the fact that there was no electricity in the terminal should not have happened. And the president of the country himself took that matter very serious. The terminal building will be without electricity. So we don't provide defense for that. The explanation we're trying to give is not to give any justification because what took place in the terminal building should never have happened. But once it happened, then we cannot try to be propagandistic about it. In fact, it looks like, in my mind, that there's a competition for the real occurrence of bad things. Because you see my friend, oh, it happened all of this other person, now it's happening. Okay, we fought war 2 decades ago. I killed 250,000 people. Should there be Liberians thinking that war is fought again? Just to show that it happened yesterday, it's still happening today. We should be marching forward. The excesses we had in the past, we should correct them. That is what our citizens and everybody else should demand from their government. Not a prayerful movement for the repeat of the bad things of the past. And that is why I am informed that the president has made it clear to the individuals who are in charge of the airport that there's zero tolerance for what took place that night. The rest of the passengers had to be checked out of the airport using the original VIP where immigration officers were assigned and they had access to electricity. And things went on smoothly. That was exactly what happened. Some of the passengers were outraged, and it was justified. When the flight were coming to that airport, you don't want them coming home and being greeted with those kinds of impressions. That is why we don't appreciate, as a government, what took place at the airport, and we will do everything that is humanly possible to ensure that the terminal does not have electricity. Passenger cannot use it again at the airport. They cannot have access to their luggages. They have to wait for extra time. Not knowing some of the important things they have in their luggages. And for the person who may not have come to the country for that long, you give them an impression that is negative. You don't have space for that. So we can tell the story as it took place. We don't have to add, we don't have to subtract, and we don't have to appear the people in prayer for the continuous occurrence of the wrong things in the country, of negative things in the country. We all should be concerned about the country making progress. And that's the reason why we tolerate criticism, especially for those who have facts about things that may not be going well. We welcome the criticism because it will help us not to be complacent. They will make us to be reminded that as leaders of the country, we owe both the country and the people of the country something. That they empower you democratically based on commitments that you made, and you must keep those commitments. So that's the situation with the airport. Another situation we follow from the far is the whole question about vehicles for the presidency. And that's how I like to put it. Because the focus is the presidency, it's not an individual. Just yesterday, somebody else was in the executive mansion. Today, another person is there. Tomorrow, it will be another person. So the action is directed at the presidency and not an individual. And the reason why we sat from afar and watched and did not rush to make any comment is because we believe some strange things are really happening here. In which country? The way that the president is protected is made a public discourse. Where? All of the countries around here, or most of them, and the country needs to be protected. And those who are charged with the responsibility of protecting the country will continue to do what they believe is deemed proper and required to protect the country. The same with the presidency. For the country to be stable. Oh yes, you don't want a situation where you wake up one morning and somebody says to you, this one has happened to the president. I remember to protect the president. Many of the ordinary citizens were outraged at the front to the extent that somebody physically reached the president, assuming the president had a knife, they had a gun. And that's why you were outraged. It was justified. But you don't know what they put into ensuring that the president, vice president, anybody else is protected. So the determination as to how the president moves in a vehicle, not for the president to determine, say, go buy me this car. It is the obligation of the people who are responsible for his protection and based on their assessment of the threat level to the president. Now, all of a sudden, it becomes an issue of debate that they take one car against the president's house. If you are out of the office today, those things that the EPS or the security forces have determined are required and needed to ensure that they succeed in protecting the presidency by extension of the individual who is there. That's what they will do. It can be a matter of politics. It can be a matter of debate. Are we not aware that the last fleet of presidential planes that was inherited were used for 6 unbroken years? Used for all the different travels, including travels during campaign? Oh, there have been some things happening that we've never said to you because it's a security question. I'm aware that several times the president, the vehicle broke down on the highway to Bombay. Some journalists are aware because they are traveling with the president. And I commend you that in some cases, you combine certain things with your journalistic profile and say, it is not for me to go report that the president car broke down while we're able. So many of you did not report that. Those were usual occurrences. And you think the people who are responsible for the president's security will be comfortable with that? And it's okay for the president to be breaking down? And they decide to take an action to avoid that and to ensure that the president is at all times safe? Do you know what will happen as the president vehicle breaks down on a highway? Do you know at that point, then the life of the president is in danger as a result of that? And if those who are responsible for his protection just sit and fold their hands and believe nothing is supposed to be done, then we, the same people, will come and criticize them. Fire the director. Fire the EPA officer. They don't even know what is required to protect our president. When they do what they deem is necessary to protect the president, they will come and make it out of political discourse. So this is not an issue that we'll be talking about. I mean, those who take so deep an interest in politics can keep talking. But one thing the EPS is assured of is that they have acted in a way that enables them to perform their statutory responsibility of ensuring that the president is safe at all times. So let's know, I mean, how many times somebody, just before the end of the president's term, we didn't see the customized vehicle that was bought by the former president. They were not for government, but question. How did you see the same coverage? Somebody somewhere, especially people who hail the purchase of that customized vehicle, which were private, are the very ones who are making the largest of noise about what the EPS has done or is doing to ensure the protection of the president. They acted within the confines of the law. They acted in ways that put them in the position to perform their duty of ensuring the protection and safety of the president. And that's it. Make the politics you want to make out of it all you want. Another thing we want to talk about, because when we got to the ground, it was a matter of concern. Before then, the Public Welfare Ministry said they will maintain the portion of the road rehabilitation work taking place on the Bushel Island, which means the portion of the road that was 4 lane will be maintained, and the street is Carway Junction to St. Bridge, which has been 2 lane all of the time, they will remain 2 lanes. They've made a determination based on resource availability that they want to maintain a 4 lane road from the Gabriel Tucker Bridge all the way up to St. Bridge. Hence, the recent action which you all witnessed, the demolition of several properties along the road. Some people have been concerned to say, we want development. But most times when they go and break the thing down, you see months pass by and nothing will happen. So we have had conversation with the Ministry of Public Works. And they've given the assurance that they did the demolition because they are ready to commence the physical work required to be done in expanding that road to a 4 lane road. They have the resources for it. They're trying to ensure that before the rain starts to fall very heavily, they will have what they call the base layer. The base layer is that final layer that you put in after all the earthwork that is followed immediately by pavement. They want to do all of that before the rain falls heavily. And then they will be able to do the pavement, which means if you were driving from Johnson Street all the way on to Seaport Bridge, you will drive on a four-lane road, which will make it a little bit easier for movement for those of us who live on that side. We will struggle to pass through places that do not market. And that is the expansion will make the flow of traffic even better and easier and will be in the interest of commuters. You understand when these things are happening, sometimes you feel a little bit right. I come from the Seminary Catholic Church. I'm a member of that church. And when I returned to the country, I stopped by to see my priest. And one of the things that I was welcome with is that the front part of the whole fence of the church was brought down because it was on the road. The priest, as I was talking to him, he had this positive mindset. So we understand, we're not offended. We need the right way where the road's supposed to pass. But the only concern is, having broken down this fence, we wait for the next 6, 7 months, maybe up to a year, we see no road coming, then we take the fence. Because you not bring our places down when you're not ready to do the work. And those kinds of conversations with many other people, including my priest, informed my judgment that I needed to have a conversation with the public works ministry. In that conversation, they confirmed that no, we are expanding the road to 4 lane, we're ready to do it now. They're not going to have any wait period. The road will be built into a 4 lane road. Development sometimes is painful. For those of us who are members of the church and other people, we working with them to ensure that they restore the fence to the new demarcation. Other people who lost some property will be acting to do all the readjustment. There's a Ahmadiyya Muslim school right by the Catholic Church there. It was also hit. So we want to see transformation, we want to see development. And we all got to bear some pains to ensure that those developments take place. We also see massive work taking place on the highway, even though we came very late, there was all that happened at the airport. But even on the cover of darkness, we could notice that more earthwork has been done in expanding the road on the RIA front. The public works minister said to me that the work will continue with us without hindering because 76% of the money required for that project has been received by the contractor. The work done so far is estimated around 60%, which means they receive more money than the work done, so the work can continue. And by the time they will reach the point of exhaustion for that up to 76% payment that was made, additional funding will be made available. So that is an assurance that the work being done on that highway will continue unhindered until it is completed, so that in the not too long distant future we all feel good. When you arrive at the international airport, you're driving towards your capital, you're on a complete 4-lane road straight up to the capital. The Ministry of Public Works that is responsible for all the street that you see around, they will ensure that our highway is also lighted properly. Because even when the road was just 2 lanes, one of the challenges that were on the road was the extreme darkness. And sometimes those traveling to the capital wonder, so the road on in leading us to the capital city, they can be asking questions. Because all they're seeing is utter darkness. The goal of this government is to change all that, to create a positive image about our country. It's a part of the general branding process that we all have to do. The country has to be branded. That's why we frown on the security at the airport. You can't be trying to brand the country and people arrive and see terminal behavior current. So that is also continuing. And for those of you who have some concern about the The interchange, which is the stop that is supposed to start from the ministerial complex to the SKD Boulevard. Maybe you're wondering, because we have announced using these same platforms that the work would have started in February. The contractors are in country. They are mobilized. But we realize it's that individual who have just structural things like building, shop, etc. Most of the service providers have their operational lines in those spaces. FEC, for example, have all the high tension wires there. If you're using that road regularly, you will realize they are taking down all the high tension wires. They're not doing it free. The government paid them so that they can be able to reinstall it wherever it's supposed to be. Orange, Lone Star, the water and sewer, the sewer line, all those things are in a place that is supposed to be used to do the road. Probably we have been engaging, making payments to some of the people who got structure there. As they pay them, they break down the structure. This weekend, most structures will be down because paid. And all the service providers, including the LTC itself, everybody, they've been engaged, paid, and they're bringing down those things that are in the route. Because the contractors need a site, operational site along that route. Those operational sites are the places where those utilities, infrastructures are running. They've been brought down. We are hoping that between 1 to 2 weeks, everything that will be resolved and the work will start. That is the reason why on Thursday, I'm just saying this in passing, but on Thursday, the Ministry of Public Works will be our guest here at the press conference, so that they give you more detail, not just about that, but all the interventions that they are making during this period. The Deputy Minister Tamba has been authorized by the Minister of Public Works, saying he's a technical man. He will come here to tell the story on Thursday. That is where I want to stop and allow the Deputy Minister to talk. I heard one former government official was on the network OKFM. I would choose not to be the one to talk to him. The Deputy Minister is empowered to address that issue. See, where we take this country from where they left it is what concerns me as the Minister of Information. That's what I come to you talking about things that we're doing to change the life of the people, not responding to mere noise. But noise making has become a career for some people. You follow them, then you as the chief spokesman of the government, you reduce your responsibilities to a battle of noise between you and professional noise makers, which I will not allow to happen to me. I think that's part of the reason why we have able, capable, and competent deputies and assistants who can deal with those people at their own level. Mr. Sando.
So folks, I like to say good evening, good morning, hello, wherever you're watching. This is LB Online Television.
Thank you very much.
And of
Mr.
course, we're
Minister,
coming to you live from the Chasway Press Home here.
it is very solemn for you to speak.
Capitol Hill.
Your boss,
At the Ministry of
I already
Information
spoken,
and
but
Affairs to receive.
it is a protocol, and so we have to
Let's up here just
like ourselves.
the podium.
So let me just continue from where the minister
Deputy
stopped.
Minister Daniel Sando.
A lot of good things are happening for the country, and
Today's Tuesday, the regular media press.
the relationship between Liberia and the People's Republic of China
Liberia 1.
is yielding a lot of fruitful results. And based on our relationship, Liberia and China signed a joint technical cooperation agreement to support the arrest agenda for inclusive development. The government of Liberia and the People's Republic of China have officially signed a bilateral agreement for technical cooperation. The agreement was signed on Friday, March 28, 2025, by Her Excellency, the Dean of the President's Cabinet, Madam Sarah Beslo Yanti, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Liberia, His Excellency King Yu. The agreement aims to enhance mutual cooperation in various sectors through the implementation of projects agreed upon by both governments, with a focus on promoting peace, stability and prosperity, and development in Liberia. The agreement aligns with the principles of equality, mutual respect, and win-win cooperation, which is the central element of the regional commitment made at the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation FOCA. During the signing ceremony, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Liberia expressed his satisfaction with the agreement and noted that the agreement is designed to facilitate projects that will be implemented following friendly consultations, reinforcing the shared goals of achieving sustainable development for future. We talk about drugs, and the other day you heard that huge consignment of drugs was arrested by the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency. The government is making strides in terms of bringing the situation under control. It is a problem that we cannot politicize. It's a problem that we cannot sweep under the carpet. We have to take it head on as a government. And so, as part of the government of Liberia's program to eradicate drugs and substance abuse in Liberia, the Ministry of Health has commenced a comprehensive substance use disorder treatment program. The program is a key component of the National Intervention Shepherd and spearheaded by the Multi-Stakeholder Committee on Drugs and Substance Abuse, which was established by President Joseph Nimogwata Sr. in collaboration with the Mother of Life Rehabilitation Program. The government commitment to providing evidence-based with drugs use disorder. In the first phase, the program will establish 3 outpatient centers, 2 in Moswara counties and 1 in Grand Bassa County, as well as 1 inpatient center in Grand Bassa County. Additionally, renovation of Youth Agriculture Training Center in Bensonville is underway, and once completed, will serve as a second inpatient rehabilitation center. The treatment services are being delivered by a dedicated team comprising both volunteers and staff from the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency. The multidisciplinary team includes psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, addiction professionals, educators, social workers, and TVET trainers. Beneficiaries will also have access to basic vocational training programs in agriculture, tailoring, and computer skills to support their long-term recovery and reintegration exercise. We have been following, and we know that there are people who get irritated at the mention of the name of the former president. But there are reasons why we have to constantly mention the name of the former president, not because he's our target. Former president is one of the reasons why we continuously use this platform to raise a red flag and to remind them on the The government in reign here that was no different from a den of thieves. The government is working. But we get troubled when people who had the opportunity to serve and fail to address some of the perennial problems that has kept this country backward. They come up today, they're speaking because, of course, the government has created every environment. Unlike that time where political opponents were being hunted down by the Porcupine Brigade, today we are free. When he says something which you have to be clear about and we have to clarify, that the government led by His Excellency President Weah is stealing the vision of former President Weah. The question that then comes to mind is whether there was any vision to this story. From the way they ran the country, it clearly tells you that the former president was visionless. They ran a visionless government. So there was no vision. There was no vision. I can go on to name some of the failed promises. And those promises failed because they didn't have any vision. The PAPD, which was the guiding principle to their government, talks about creating thousands of jobs. Some of you who are journalists need to go to that former government official and ask him how many jobs did they create for the young people. Today, the Weah-led administration is struggling with massive unemployment among the young people of this country. And what we intend to do is to create the every environment for investors to come here, create the businesses, the companies, thereby creating the jobs that we need. They couldn't do that. The UP government does not have anything to do, and so they're stealing the vision. Was there any vision of this story? There's no vision of this story. Done in the last 12 months, 13 months, 14 months, are sufficient indication that the country is on a trajectory to progress. And some of the people who want to say to us, I was bewildered. As to why the chief of staff of the former president will be under the influence of some strong substances, go to the studio, and you could literally see that he was under the influence of something very strong. Maybe he was drunk. And you cannot even say anything substantial. Talking about the former president has never received a call from the president, and that the country, the government is endangering the life of the former president.